If you would join me in the flag salute.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome. As I had mentioned before, our Commissioner Ted Jackson will not be in attendance tonight. He has another duty. Thank you, Leanne. Because I tried to find it, but I couldn't. So we have some consent items. I don't know if you had a chance to look through everything.
I did, yep.
Okay. Do you want me to read them, or do you want to?
If I can get there.
Okay. I will say the first consent agenda item is to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 7th.
I would move to approve consent agenda item number, or A.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved.
On that, there's no financial reports in there, but I just finished up the annual report, so a little behind.
Okay,
Can you send that to us?
Yeah,
Okay.
do that.
but we do have action items 3, A, B, and C. Would you like to
I would
read them?
move to accept action items A, B, and C.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. And just for the record, they're general fund vouchers for $9,928.75. Payroll vouchers, $16,134.05. Water fund vouchers, $58.31. Commissioner's report. How about you, Scott?
Let's see, I had the regular report meeting. I went to the commissioners conference. That was 3 days of learning and networking. I didn't see you there.
Not this year.
Yeah, and I went to a meeting up at the Port of Bremerton. I believe it was called Vision 5050. 2050.
Oh, cool.
That was fairly interesting. They went back 50 years and kind of progressed forward to where we are now and where they think we'll go in the next 20 years. And although it was a Kitsap County kind of weighted audience and agenda, there was many things that I felt applied to North Mason, at least Mason County in general, but it was very interesting.
Good.
Yeah,
Great.
that was my month.
Okay. Of course, the Washington Public Ports Association and the port meeting, Larry and I went down to the Washington, oh gosh, what does that stand for? It's WWRP. It's Recreation
World
something.
Wrestling or something?
Washington Wildlife Recreation Coalition.
Is that what that is? That's terrible. I forgot to write that, what that means. I go to them before, but we went, Larry and I went to support Mindy Harlow, who is from the Salmon Enhancement Group, because she applied for 2 grant projects, which one was the Sweetwater Park. It was a riparian grant, so this one really wouldn't qualify. It was more like for parks, but at least we got educated and everything. On the 16th, met with Mike Ross. He is a volunteer for the Oyster House. Hopefully he's going to get back on board and do some more drawings for us. The Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization. Again, I said there's going to be some reorganization with that. I'm on the search committee for the 2 possibilities of organizations that would qualify for what the PRTPO does. One is the Thurston Regional Planning Organization, and the other is Grays Harbor Council of Governments. And they operate sort of like what the PRTPO does. And so we are going to put together some RFPs, so that's the right word, request for performance, to those 2 organizations. I'll keep you up to date on what's going on. And then we went, on the 31st, we went down to the Mason County Permit Center to investigate about getting a building permit for the Oyster House. And Bill, you've been helping us a great deal, so that's it for me. Okay, Travis, you're next.
Oh, you're putting me next now.
Yeah, so you don't have to sit around for a while.
Sometimes I sit around. All right, Travis Merrill, Board of Balance
security. It's been a pretty lively month with the shrimpers. Yeah, there was quite a bit of activity at the boat ramp. In fact, the middle of the month, we had an incident where I pulled up to the boat ramp and Mason County sheriffs were there blaring their lights. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're just, Coast Guard got called. Somebody in the middle of the bay ran out of gas. So they were towed to our, at the end of the launch pier. So I went down and told them, you know, if you can't get it going, just get it on the other side of the launch pier for tonight. You know, but it's got to be out of here by at least tomorrow. And they're like, well, we live on the South Shore and we normally, you know, buoy it outside our house. I'm like, okay, well. By the time I went there the next day, everything had been cleared up. I think they got it out of there that night.
Good.
They were getting it fixed, so. Other than that, activity, at least in the evening, is starting to pick up again around here. Haven't seen anything completely out of the ordinary yet. And I believe we have a new office renter upstairs.
A new what?
Office renter upstairs.
Patty Kleist?
Yeah.
Patty.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Right.
So it's good to know.
Yep.
Okay. I assume she's not going to be here at odd hours or anything.
Did you
No,
not
it's-
know that?
Oh, I didn't know until I saw it. I saw that it was going on. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's about it.
Okay, great.
All right.
Will Patty have access 24/7, or is she?
Well, she's got a key to the front door, and we're gonna have
Our
a
office.
little discussion with her about it, because it seems like she's left the door open once or twice. Travis has caught that.
Oh, okay.
Pretty vigilant about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
you are.
That is what I get to do.
Pardon?
Don's gonna check her key as soon as he sees her. He says there might be a burr in it or something, because she's been having trouble with the key.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Yes.
Travis. That's great. Okay. Larry, you're on.
All right, water system issues. Northwest Water Systems resubmitted our updated water system plan to the state last month after responding to the letters from the Department of Ecology, Department of Health addressing what they wanted to see modified in the plan. I spoke with Doug Peel from Northwest Water Systems on Friday, and he said the fire marshal has signed off on the fire flow requirement and submitted the letter to the state about it. At this point, we're waiting on Mason County for two things. For the county to certify the plan meets the requirements of its comprehensive plan and to renew our franchise agreement. As far as the franchise renewal agreement with the county is concerned, we submitted everything to the county that they need several months ago. It was proposed to go in front of the county commissioners for final approval and review on May 15th to be approved on May 22nd. However, I received a new schedule from Public Works on Friday. It is as follows. June 11th, board brief on Port of Allyn renewal. June 19th, board action to approve renewal. Whether this will actually happen is anyone's guess at this point. Annual report. The 2017 annual report was due to the state auditor last Thursday. Leanne got it done and submitted on time. Certification is in your meeting packet. She also helped the Port of Duato get theirs done and submitted on time, as well as help them correct their 2016 report. So I think she deserves a well done.
Thank you.
Yay, thank you, Leanne. Awesome.
You're welcome.
Whose was easier? Duato's or ours?
Well, their numbers were off on the year that it was done from somebody else.
Chris Tompkins is doing the one for Duato.
good.
She's, my experience with her, she's a real stickler.
We didn't have any federal grants or anything this year to deal with, so it was much easier.
Gotcha.
Truck purchase, as I emailed all of you last week, we're in a situation where the repairs to the truck we have, coupled with our current investment in that vehicle, will exceed the NADA retail value of the truck, and not by a little bit. In your packet are two proposals from local dealers for a new truck, Heartland Toyota for a Toyota Tacoma, and Advantage Nissan for a Nissan Frontier. There are also financing options from the Nissan dealer, and Kitsap Bank sent us one that I was going to send to you in the last email I sent at 5:25 tonight, along with the repair estimate from Local Wrench, but looking at the Kitsap Bank one, she's got the number wrong. We said we needed $26,000 and she figured it on $56,000. So, anyway, earlier today I also sent Joe Brogan's legal opinion on borrowing the money from the IDD. I've tried to get a clarification on this since last week from the state auditor's office. I spoke with the head auditor in Port Orchard this morning, and she said she didn't know for sure if we could do this or not. Check with the help desk on the state auditor website. I couldn't find any help there, but I did find a link to MRSC, but the link didn't work. So I called and left a message for the person at the state auditor's office who's supposed to know the answer, but didn't get a return call. So this is on the agenda for action under new business. WPPA Communications Director. Laura Pettit, WPPA's new Communications Director, came by last week, spent several hours with me. She's going to design a social media marketing plan for us for the gazebo for our off months. She also showed us how to maximize our Facebook presence and helped me set us up on Instagram. She also recommended a wedding website that we should become involved with, and I am pursuing that. At the WPPA spring meeting and her breakout session, which Scott and I both attended, she talked extensively about a platform called Stack, which I downloaded right there. She told me they're setting up a complete interactive presence on Stack that will allow all WPPA members complete access to each other, as well as have commissioner and executive director forums, and they plan to roll that out in the next 30 days. Becoming our own treasurer. With the new processing schedule of warrants, we're beginning to see some problems that has me exploring the possibility of becoming our own treasurer and not using the county. Based upon the time you meet and approve vouchers for payment and when warrants become available, the change in warrant processing time has caused us to begin incurring late charges from some vendors. This, as you know, is frowned heavily upon by the state auditor. We receive bills for services incurred in April and May. You all, however, don't meet until the first Monday of the following month. In some cases, like this month, while you meet and approve the May vouchers tonight, June 4th, the warrants paying April's bills won't be available until June 13th. Payroll works pretty much the same way. Our employees get paid once a month for their previous month's work. So in the time they work their last day in April until payday for April, in this case, is 44 days. We've inquired about paying our vendors via ACH and doing direct deposit for payroll the same way, which our bank offers. We've been told by the county this is not possible, but they won't give us a creditable reason why not. It appears on the surface this would save the county time and money. When I inquired why not, I was told Public Works, which is one of our vendors, is on a different computer system than financial services and can't accept ACH payments. This appears to be a management efficiency issue to me, but I'm sure there are circumstances to which I'm not privy, so perhaps not. But even if we can't pay Public Works via ACH, why can't we pay the rest of our vendors that way? No one seems to want to address that direct question. Meanwhile, our money is sitting there drawing interest for the county, not us. I've talked to the ports of Shelton, Brownsville, and Bremerton. All are acting as their own treasurer. Port of Shelton is going to connect us with their accountant who did the changeover for them so we can get our arms around how much extra work this might be for us, as well as how much more, if anything, this will cost us. However, from what I can see, especially since Bias offers us the ability to do ACH from the desktop, it may not have any negative impact on us financially and be beneficial for us to change, since we will have total control of our finances at all times. I'll report back at the next meeting as I will have more information by then. Security upgrades. I met with IntelliSystems last week, and they're planning on starting to work on this as soon as the equipment is delivered. They've also given us the bid you requested for an alarm for this room, coupled with a separate camera setup for the northern doors upstairs, but it's way out of line for what I think we need to spend for this. I've asked them to resubmit the bid with just an alarm system for down here, so I've taken it off the agenda. Meeting date change. Our regular meeting is Monday, July 2nd, with the 4th on Wednesday. I didn't know if any of you are planning a long holiday weekend or not, so I thought I'd ask if you want to reschedule the meeting for the following Monday, which is July 9th. That's on the agenda for discussion. Presentation upgrades. Commissioner Cooper asked me to look into setting up a permanent presentation projector in this room. I'd hoped to have this ready for approval this month, but I'm still researching projectors. There's a huge learning curve there, and I want to narrow down our options, so it should be on your agenda for next month. Bias software upgrade as we continue in the hands-on learning phase with Bias. Leanne is still much further ahead than I am. Because Bias has been so busy with annual reports for many of their clients, they've not had anyone available to schedule any training sessions for me. However, I've talked to them about coming over there for a 2-day immersion type of training, and we've tentatively scheduled that for June 18th and 19th. On the 21st and 22nd, I'm scheduled to be at the Spring BIAW board meeting in Tri-Cities, so the port would only be paying mileage one way to Spokane. Lobbyist. At the last meeting, you all said you would welcome a presentation from Gordon Thomas Honeywell about lobbying services. I communicated with Shelley Helder, who will be our contact, and while they couldn't make this meeting, they can do a special meeting on either July 25th or June 25th, or July 10th. And I have this on the agenda for discussion and to set a date. Something I thought about is if we want to change that July meeting, maybe just change it to July 10th and have them do the meeting.
Are you going to be gone then?
I don't think so. I'm checking right now.
Public record software, as I reported previously, I reached out to a number of other smaller to medium-sized ports to see if we can find some other ports interested in participating in the development cost of this software, which is about $30,000. I chaired a roundtable discussion on this at the spring meeting in Vancouver, but had no takers. However, in meeting with the WPPA communication director last week, she told me she is aware of a similar system that is currently under development, and she intends to advocate for WPPA to become involved in that so it can become available to small ports like ours. So I'll report on this when and if there's new developments.
Remember in the roundtables, I met with MRSC too, and they also had somebody working on that.
Yeah, I think
That's
might
who
be
it
one
is.
and the same.
Okay.
EV charging stations, I did some research on the idea of adding some EV charging stations here at the park. I haven't heard back from ChargePoint, one of the companies involved in creating the infrastructure for the electric highway between the Canadian and Mexican borders, but did find out some other interesting information. We can buy these commercially for a lot less than the original cost of the ones we'd installed in Port Orchard, and less than ChargePoint charges. They're less than $4,000 for a dual charging station that accommodates 2 vehicles at a time. If all goes as I anticipate, we can roll the cost of these into our marina project. Rebuilding the arbors, as I mentioned last month, one of the arbors at the waterfront park has to be completely rebuilt. Don has material ordered. As soon as it's delivered, he'll get started on it, hopefully this week. Co-working space, I recently visited Portia Chehalis' co-working project, was quite impressed. They also did one of the roundtable discussions at WPPA's spring meeting on this. I scanned their material from it and emailed to all of you a couple of weeks ago. I think this could be a good fit for Belfair if we can find the right space. It's a very similar private sector one of these on Bainbridge Island that's quite successful. The issue here will be either finding and or building the right building for this to work along with funding for it. But this is the type of project where lobbyists could be helpful. Wayfinding signs, we received an invoice for Hanson Signs. For the wayfinding sign, we agreed to participate in the cost of 2 years ago. It was in the vouchers that you approved and is included in our 2018 capital budget. They're supposedly going to be put in place shortly. However, I wasn't happy with our placement on the drawing I saw of the sign and have complained. They had us on the very bottom of it, and when we agreed to do this, we were supposed to be listed on the very top. I talked to Hanson Sign today. They told me it'll cost an additional $200 to move us to the top of the sign. I'm trying to work out a compromise for this and probably won't send the check until it's resolved. 2018 budget adjustments, I expect revenue and expense changes, so once we get the final numbers, I'll ask you to approve an amended budget. However, at this point, before doing that, I'd like us to be 100% up and running on bias so everything matches, and I know what I'm doing. Hopefully, I was hoping for this at this meeting, but it's not going to happen, so. Vacation schedules, I'd like to take part of my vacation June 26th to 29th, part July 3rd through the 9th. I'll still have 5 days left, but we'll deal with that later in the year. We have a meeting on July 2nd, and I'll be here for that unless you all change the schedule. And Leanne is also planning a vacation September 13th through 22nd. So other than that, we just have old business, and I've got reports on that stuff, but I can do them now or I can do them under old business, whatever you want to do.
How about you, have any preference?
I mean, I'm available both days. So I can do the June 25th and I can do the July 2nd.
Not July 10th, when the other guys can be here.
To change the meeting to
Yeah,
July 10th?
didn't they say they could be here July 10th
Or
or
June
June 25th?
July 10th, they said. June 25th or July 10th.
And I'm available June 10th and
So-
July 2nd, or July 25th.
No, June
June- I'm
25th
available
or
that
July
day.
10th.
And I'm available for our meeting on July 2nd.
Okay.
So I think that, doesn't that answer it?
No, because he was talking about moving the court meeting from the 2nd to the 9th
Or the 10th.
or the 10th, since the other guys could be here on the 10th.
Well, our regularly scheduled meeting's the 2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you all had any out-of-town plans and wanted to.
No.
Okay.
I'm okay with the 2nd.
Okay.
Okay with the
it's
2nd.
Fine.
Look here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I would kind of, Bill, you don't want to sit through this whole meeting, do you?
It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what? Some of it's interesting.
Because I know that we have old business on our next agenda, but I'd like to give Bill a chance since you're here and waiting.
Yeah.
Is that okay if we can change
Absolutely.
the agenda to having discussion on the Oyster House permitting, which is the shoreline part?
Because I have two topics.
Okay.
on that related to Oyster House.
So I am going to skip down to new business, which is Bill Ray. So Bill, if you would go ahead and take the podium and share what you have to share in regard to the Oyster House permit.
So 2 updates on the Oyster House. One was related to your question about the structure. I reached out to Trish at the building department at Mason County, left her a message, but she was not there and she did not call me back today either. So I'm still waiting for her to give me a call back, and she owes me a call back on a couple other projects. I'm hoping that she calls back soon. Because right now we're kind of in a chicken and the egg,
Yeah,
situation where, either you can engineer the piling to match the house or the house to match the piling. But to me, with an older structure like the house, it makes more sense to shore that up, do it the way you need to, and then place the piles in the location you need to support that
I would
building.
agree, yeah,
So hopefully she agrees too.
okay.
So the second bit of information is related to the Army Corps of Engineers permit. So as you know, I've been working with Bonnie on that, and I was hoping that she was going to be here tonight. Bonnie was supposed to reach out to you and ask for the commissioner's opinion on kind of path forward, but I think it was right around that time that her husband became sick, so I think she might have forgotten about that. So the question that we're kind of waiting for input on is, so with the Corps of Engineers permit, if I can back up a little bit and explain their jurisdiction and our needs, I think that'd be the most useful way of doing that. So under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, they have authority from mean high or high water, which is the highest of the high tides, out. Under Section 10 of the Harbors Act, they have jurisdiction over projects in navigable waters of the U.S., so that's mean high water and out. Mean high water is the lowest of the high tides. So are we following on,
Yep.
on that? Okay, great. And so most other agencies, their authority is like ordinary high water. That's what the county looks at, ecology looks at, DFW looks at kind of a different, their waters of the U.S., or waters of the state, they kind of can make their jurisdiction based on the project. So the issue that we're up against is, according to what I think where the piles are going to need to go, we'll be above mean high water. So we'd be out of Army Corps jurisdiction for the placement of the pilings. So when this project first started, we had a different PM, or project manager, Darren Hobble. And then after Darren switched, we had a different person who I forget who that was, but I also spoke to him about the project, and he was basically agreeing with what Darren was saying. And what Darren Hobble was saying was, if you're out of, their jurisdiction, they weren't going to take jurisdiction over the removal of the ramp, because they can choose with mitigation, because it's a demolition, it's not a project, so we're actually removing a structure from the water. And depending on the person at the Corps, they can decide whether they want to take jurisdiction and they think it's going to have an impact or not. So Darren and his first predecessor, they said, we don't care about pulling out the ramp. You can do that without a permit. It's a demo. And that's pretty common for most of the PMs at the Corps. Jason, who is your current Corps PM, looks at it differently. He's saying that because there's an action below mean high water, he would like to take jurisdiction of the whole project. So that would mean that we'd have to apply for individual Corps permit to both remove that ramp structure and to install the piling and set the oyster house on top of it. Now, it's not a real big deal because we have lots of good mitigation. We've already made DFW happy, we've already made the county happy, and ecology happy. So we're pretty lined up pretty nice. And also, the local tribes seem to be okay with the project also. So I don't see that there's a big issue with it. I just rather keep the Corps out of projects if we don't have to, just for the fact that their timeline is usually longer than it should be. Now, that being said, they have just hired 9 new PMs, so I'm hoping that things will start catching back up. Because when I first started doing Corps permits, 15 years ago in this state, they were looking at like 6 months for a permit. I even had one as soon as 6 weeks from Olivia, who is a very good Corps PM, but she has since retired. But nevertheless, the question that I posed to Bonnie was, do we want to fight that, or do we want to just go along with getting the Corps permit? And before you guys were proposing to do some additional upgrades to your pier, my answer was different. My answer would have been this: argue it, because why waste the time? Mm-hmm. But now that you have another project that's going to be coming into the Corps, I say let's make them happy and just apply for the permit, see how long it takes us to get it. There's no fee for the permit, so it's not an additional cost for you guys. The only thing that is going to be is additional time. The other question I had for Bonnie, and she's not here, is we were supposed to do some plantings at the kayak area.
They got done.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay. I stopped by and I didn't see them.
Well, they said they took pictures, and it was Dan Orchard, who was a volunteer, and her. She went and bought the materials.
Okay.
Bonnie's been in recovery kind of for surgery.
Oh, she had surgery too. Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't talked to her since then, but Dan Orchard did all the planting, and it was the red willow and...
Yeah. Do you know when that happened?
A month and a half ago.
Okay. Maybe.
About.
I think it was longer than that when I stopped by and there was nothing there. So, because I'd just like to be able to stop by, take photos, and send that into the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, okay.
So that we can satisfy part of that permit.
I'm sorry I didn't let you know then, because okay.
Not a big deal.
All right.
Yeah, that's why I ask questions.
Bonnie I think she took pictures.
Okay. Well, she should have sent them to me then.
Yes.
She's been going through quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
so.
and I haven't been bugging her just because of the
Sure.
the family issues that she's had. So I wanted to kind of not
You're
bug her. She has enough to worry about.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at right now is, I filled out all the core application material. I wrote you guys a biological evaluation for
Yeah.
the project. So we have everything we need. It's just, I'm waiting for marching orders as it be.
Well, I might suggest to follow your suggestion. And I don't know if we need a vote on it or just to direct you to do that, if you can.
If you're already working on it and that's what you think the best course of action is, I agree.
Okay.
Just-
Yeah.
just
Well,
continue on and.
I just don't want to step on toes. I mean, a lot of times, organizations don't want to get out of practice of how they do things. And if you guys have a usual and a custom way that you deal with core permits and dealing with regulatory bodies, then I just didn't want to go against that and set a precedence.
Well, no, we haven't, because we really
Yeah,
haven't had an issue like this one before.
yeah.
As you know, we've had some Army Corps issues, but they were handled differently through it. I think we were a lead agency on one of the projects.
Yeah,
I don't know if we were on North Shore, but I think we were out here.
Yeah, on the float
Yeah.
project you were. I
Right.
don't know about North Shore because I wasn't involved in
Yeah,
that.
I don't think we were the lead agency on that. I know it took us a long time dealing with Army Corps, but
Yeah,
I think like you suggested, just to play it safe and
yeah.
as
And-
long as it's not gonna cost us or you too much more.
And I might reach out to Jason and see if he can meet me out here, and maybe I can talk some sort of middle ground.
Okay.
Maybe, because what Darren Hobble was gonna issue was a letter of permission, which was basically one step up from an email. So that's like the easy, well, an email saying, go ahead and do the work, we don't care, is like the easiest range. Letter of permission's the next, then nationwide permits, then individual permits. So we can definitely fit into the nationwide permits for this work. But at the same time, if it slows things down, I'd really love to see the structure remove, this work window, this coming work window. I've been waiting for, I think, 8 or 10 years to see this structure come out as mitigation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It has been a long time.
I can remember a long, long time ago meeting down here and talking about that structure, and you guys were wise enough to hold on to
Yeah.
it, no matter what anyone else said.
That's true. It's been a battle, but.
Yeah, but I
we're
mean,
making
mitigation
progress.
these days is priceless.
Yeah,
It really is, and a lot of my projects that I work on are held up because of mitigation. I'm having to actually go out and create mitigation projects just to get permits done, which is not the way it was in the past. In the past, you could just find mitigation here and there, but it's starting to really dry up.
gotcha.
So,
And thanks for your advice, because you're the one who told us not to tear it out.
well, thank you for listening.
Specifically for this,
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for your work.
Well, I give lots of advice out, usually people just don't follow it. So I appreciate it, but, it worked out well in the end.
Yeah.
So, and it's gonna be a great project.
Yeah, I'm excited when it'll finally get done.
So-
Thank you for your work.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
I
Bill.
think you kind of have our directive. I don't know if we need to vote on it or anything, but
So,
go ahead.
Okay.
And if there's anything that you need from us to do, then, do you have any input, Larry, or
No, I
Okay.
would rely on Bill's expertise.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
Okay,
so my next steps, I'm gonna reach out to Jason Sweeney, who is your current PM, see if I can get him to meet me down here,
okay,
talk about the project, maybe get him so that he'll let us do it under a letter of permission or a lesser form of permit. If not, talk to him about maybe ways we can expedite, maybe get him to write us a letter of permission for removing the mitigation this work window, so that we can meet the hopes and the requirements of the HPA, which was to remove the ramp before we installed it, so that we had that mitigation lift before we had the new overwater structure put in. So that's what I'll do next, and I'll report back to you guys and let you know,
Okay.
what he has to say. And worst case scenario, like I said, everything's just ready to go. And on the one hand, I'm kind of glad it's going to be reviewed, since I spent about 40 hours writing a biological evaluation. But maybe you guys can reuse it for your next project.
yeah. So best case scenario, when would the work commence there?
Best case scenario, if the current PM said, go ahead and do it, or I'm going to get your letter of permission, the work window opens up July 15th and goes to February 14th.
Okay.
I would probably recommend waiting until the first part of October, just so you get past the recreational season.
Sure.
But before the end of October, when we start getting our bad weather.
Yeah. Weddings.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's work that can, be pretty flexible too.
I have a question for you. I'm trying to get volunteers to see if we can get people to haul everything out as well. So do you have an estimate of what kind of yardage or what kind of tonnage would it take to haul all that concrete out? And does it have to go in a special place, or can it just be where the concrete goes up?
So, yeah, I'll try to figure out something for you off the top of my head. I'd have to look back at my measurements. It depends on what your internal policies are. Like when I was at the Port of Tacoma, we had an internal policy of recycling material. So what we would do in this case is we take it, crush the concrete, use that for structural fill for another project, and recycle the still. So that's kind of the gold standard of getting rid of the structure. Whether you have someone around that can do that or not, or someone who's interested in doing that, I guess it kind of depends on metal prices and all that good stuff.
Peninsula Topsoil, they have donated usually they charge you whenever you haul in some materials, concrete and whatnot, and they've actually donated that tonnage to
Oh,
the
nice.
Oyster House.
They'll take it for free.
Yeah, they've been, I mean, they're giving us a donation for it, but usually it's.
Well, it makes me happy that I drive all the way from Gig Harbor to there to get my mushroom compost in.
good.
So they did donate, and I'm gonna ask them again if they'll take in more, because as you know, it's probably gonna be that much, double the amount of what, we had 20 tons coming out of the Oyster House.
Of the floor.
Wow.
The floor, yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
yes.
That is. I mean, I knew what the floor looked like, but that's just,
Because it was doubled and sometimes triple layered,
yeah,
22 tons.
yeah,
wow, that's crazy.
yeah, it is amazing.
And that gets back to my previous concern about placing the structural, stringers and supports for that building, and where they go. They need to go where the building tells us, not where the piles tell us. So,
Yeah.
Well, and originally, and I just saw some new engineered plans, it said 4 stringers. Originally it's 5, but I'm not sure if they've beefed up the floor or not. I think it's 3 by 12, beams that they're laying flat, which, would handle quite a bit, so.
Yeah.
But that will be engineered, and if you talk to Walter, he can kind of help
okay,
you, know what's going on.
okay, excellent.
And thank you for calling Walter, by the way, or at least getting in contact with him.
No problem. I've enjoyed working on the project, and I look forward to that ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Probably not as much as Judy.
Well, you put in a lot of more time than I have, Bill.
I don't know. I got a lot of joy out of coming down last year for the Gooey Duck Festival.
Oh, good.
And I brought a friend of mine from Tacoma over. We were doing some things up at my house in Lakeland Village, and we stopped by, and everyone treating me like royalty was a pretty good payback, because it was, everyone, hey, aren't you that guy? And usually I get the, aren't you that guy that has the 4 obnoxious dogs? Or aren't you that guy that, So it was nice to be, called out for something good for a change.
Well, you've done a lot of wonderful work for
Well,
us, and
thank you, Bill.
I'm always available for you guys.
Okay.
I like working for the Port of Allyn, or volunteering, whatever it takes to help you guys out.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Been wonderful to work with you, so that's great. Well, good. Anything else then?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
All right,
thank
Well,
you.
now you're free to go if you want to.
All right.
Or you can hang around.
I think I'm gonna go grab dinner.
Bubba's? There you
Yeah.
go. Never
Thank
go.
you for
Thank
having me.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
See you soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you for rearranging
While we're
that to
still
give me the
under
chance.
old business and Oyster House, so I know we have a couple things coming up, but I believe that it would be a good opportunity for us to do like we did with Ted on the Sweetwater Park project, maybe have a workshop and really kind of zero in on what it is, where we going, who's doing what work, where's the funding coming from.
Yeah, we do need another workshop.
Yeah, and just kind of put, it
Yes.
sounds like some things are happening and there might be some confusion on who the lead is on certain things and maybe we could just narrow that down in a workshop and,
That was one thing I talked to Larry about in trying to get some clarity. North Bay Historical Society has traditionally been responsible for doing all the work on the Oyster House itself. But, the dynamics is kind of changing, I think, to where now that we're getting support and more involvement, if we could do that, or what kind of an instrument we need to do to make an agreement. Because I think we need something a little more solid.
Well, I think what we should probably do is go ahead and have a workshop meeting, have somebody from there at the meeting.
yeah.
Let's lay this out, who's gonna do what, and who's responsible for what, and create an agreement from there.
Yeah, we have, just for the record, we have had an agreement, but it hasn't really been signed and dotted, everything on the dotted line type situation, even though there's been lots of volunteer hours, lots of donations through the North Bay Historical Society, which has given really the ability to do the volunteer stuff, as opposed that if the port did it, and that was one reason why I didn't push for the port, then it could be if we contracted a bunch of stuff out, it'd have to be, prevailing wage and all that. So that has been the advantage, but
Right.
still, we do need to have a workshop and see what, just nail it
No, I
down a little
agree.
better, and
Yeah.
always revisit.
Yeah, especially if our work window opens up in July, and we might be doing some work in July.
Could be, like he said, for doing the launch
Yeah,
ramp, it'd be
yeah,
later, but,
October.
yeah. But we do have Walter Galitsky who's working on that, so, okay. Do you want to try to set up a meeting this time, or just wait till July?
Well, if we could set it for July 10th, we can get the lobbyists here at the
Sure.
same time. And because they might have some ideas about money for it.
There you go.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
we can do that.
yeah.
Okay.
July 10th is
Works for you?
it's a special meeting to listen to a presentation from a lobbyist and to work on the Sergeant Oyster House.
Yeah,
Okay, July
Okay.
10th.
Yep.
all right. We will do that then.
Okay.
All right, most excellent. Now, for old business, Sweetwater Park, you want to,
Well, sure. We received a property transfer letter from North Mason School District last week. I forwarded it to Joe Brogan to write our response. I want to be sure we don't assume any responsibility for any of the contamination issues. Joe sent us a draft today. I forwarded it to all of you earlier today. Commissioner Scott and myself went to Olympia along with Mindy Harlow from the Salmon Center to meet with the WWRP for the draft grant proposal presentation for the park. They recommend Mindy apply for a different type of grant, and I was copied on an email on Friday where she's trying to set up a meeting with our RCO grant manager, who is the same person we have, to figure that out. Other than that, nothing new to report except a phone call from Ken Van Buskirk telling me there were a bunch of sheriff's cars there last week. He said he suspected the trailer on the property currently owned by Dr. Peterson had been used to cook meth in the past, which could present another cleanup issue, and suspected this incident could be drug-related, but he didn't know for certain. He just wanted to alert us of the law enforcement presence. Criminalization of the marina rules, I have nothing new to report. Commissioner Jackson and I have been trying to set up a meeting with the Sheriff's Office, commanding officer for our area, continuing to work on it. Hopefully we'll have this resolved sooner rather than later. Part of the problem has been Ted's time availability.
Sure.
So, he's now the interim chief in DuPont, so, which is why he's not here tonight.
Yeah.
Marina expansion project, we had previously received a packet of information from the Department of Commerce for this with a multitude of forms to complete and return to them. They were due on May 16th and were submitted on time. Art Anderson and Associates is working on the engineering for this project. They've given us a price of $9,012 for the engineering and drawing the plans, which you previously approved, so we can get this out to bid. I've got some contract documents from both the ports of Kingston and Shelton for this type of work since we didn't have anything in our files, and have drafted a contract for Art Anderson based on those. At this point, we're waiting for them to return it, so I expect that to happen this week. And the Oyster House, I filled out a building permit form, all 22 pages of them. And Commissioner Scott and myself met with one of the planners at the county to figure out what the next steps forward are. The contractor got the preliminary engineering drawings completed and sent them to us, and they were used in the meeting we had. Planner suggested some ways about how to approach this and had some questions we couldn't answer. Planner and the contractor actually need to talk so everyone's on the same page. I spoke with the contractor on Thursday after our meeting at some length, and he's trying to set up the meeting with the planner. There are also questions about the old launch ramp removal and permitting for that, which Bill Ray just addressed. And Kitsap All Ports Association, nothing new to report there. Next meeting, July 30th. So, there you are.
Yes, Sweetwater Park, so I guess I'm just, I understand that we don't want to be liable for cleanup, but the public owns the property and the school district is in possession of it.
Right.
So the public owns the property and the port's in possession of it. So are we responsible for the cleanup, or is the public responsible for the cleanup?
We would be.
I would think we would be.
Well, but who's
Which
the
is what
owners
I'm
of
trying
it?
to protect us from.
Is it a public property that the school district is in possession of, and it'll be a public property that we're in possession of? Does it really matter who's responsible for the cleanup? Or is it
Well,
gonna,
what matters is who's going to pay for anything that
well, I'm
comes
saying
up.
if they say we're not signing this, does it just go away?
You know, when, the reason that was even kind of brought up is I had spoken with a lawyer at the Washington Public Courts Association, and she mentioned that whoever the previous owner is, meaning the school district, that if we take possession, put indemnification that if they find something that's really drastic, that they would still be responsible, just to waiver our responsibility.
So there may not be an issue with the school district signing it.
There may not be.
Okay. I mean, it's not,
And I'm thinking, I don't really anticipate this to be a big problem. It's gonna be covered anyway with asphalt. But I think if we put it in there, I think it would be wise or prudent to put that in there in the agreement.
so if we take possession of it, we start digging around, we find a third tank, who pays for that cleanup?
Well, it should be the school district if we say, you know, as the condition of accepting the property, that we're not responsible for anything like that. And that's what Joe put in. Did you read the draft letter?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he put in there.
We started
So,
with-
Yeah, I just don't know, if it's a deal breaker. It's
well, we'll find out.
all public money. If it's our public money or if it's the school district's public money. I mean, ports take over properties and clean them up. That's what they do.
Well,
I mean,
and-
they take over known contaminated properties and clean them up.
Well, they usually
I
take
don't know
those
that school
over for
districts-
redevelopment
Yep.
for
Yep.
profitable purposes, though, not for recreational purposes. You know, they do brownfield cleanup to,
Redevelop.
repurpose the
Yeah.
property and redevelop it, where, they make money off of that. We're not going to make any money off Sweetwater Park. So any money that we put into that for that kind of thing would just be, money down a rat hole as far as I'm concerned.
It's, yeah, public use.
So,
Yeah, I'm just kind of undecided on where I'm at with whether, I mean, if it's not going to be a problem, then it's not a problem. But if it is a
And-
problem, I don't know.
and
I
I
don't know
don't
that I'm
believe
stuck
it's
on that,
going
yeah.
to be, but I just think that, for us to be doing our due diligence, we need to be sure that we've got ourselves protected every
Sure.
way that we can.
And the only thing we know of is the naturally occurring arsenic.
Right.
There's nothing else known on there.
No.
That was my.
Something that should have been covered by the original cleanup, I don't think we want to be in a position of being responsible for if it comes to light later. And that's what I was trying to avoid.
Right, and then we could re-enter a voluntary cleanup and get it all paid for.
Right.
or the school district would have to re-enter a voluntary
Or
cleanup
somebody
and get
would.
it all paid for.
Somebody would.
I just think we could really complicate matters
Yeah.
for something that's unknown.
Well, it's up to you guys. I mean,
No, I
if
know,
you wanna-
I just wanted more information. I did read Joe's letter. It was, you know, it said what you said it says. I mean, it's indemnifies us if there's any contaminants found, but I don't know what we do when there is contaminants found, or if there is, or the project just stops.
Well, that's why I was trying to protect us from being financially liable.
Right,
Well, we can always present it.
Yeah.
yeah.
If they
yeah.
say no, then we can move forward and,
Yeah, the
Make a
worst thing that
decision
can
from
happen
there.
is they say no and we sit down, talk about it and figure it out.
yeah. And I don't think we should stop the project,
No, I don't think so.
No.
but we can come to an agreement,
I think so.
yeah. I'm pretty
Uh,
confident in
yeah.
that.
Good, that was my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Any other questions in regard to old business?
Marina expansion project.
Mhm.
I know we had talked about Dawn and
Brody?
Brody doing some of that conduit running, and I was opposed to it.
And that's fine.
Okay, I mean, is it written in the contract, or, okay,
No.
yeah, I just.
No, and you
let
know, the
contractor do
more that
work.
I've thought about it, the more I think you're probably right.
Yeah, just,
I
Less
mean,
liability?
we're gonna pay a prevailing wage to have somebody do that work.
sure,
But on the other hand, we don't wanna be compromising ourselves for a warranty situation
Right,
either. And so I think maybe it's just best to,
I'm good with that.
yeah, I think that's.
you know, that's the
best practice.
entrepreneur in me trying to
Well,
save us some
No,
money.
I understand, I appreciate
you know?
that too, I really do, I appreciate that.
So,
And then the only other question I have on the marina expansion is kind of timeline, if we have one, even a rough timeline.
as soon as I get the contract back from Art Anderson and look at the drawings, I'm gonna have a better feeling for it. The guy that's doing the actual work is on vacation for the last 2 weeks. Today's his first day back. So,
The
Okay.
engineer and the architect,
pardon?
the engineer and the Art Anderson guy, yeah.
Yeah, the guy that's, you know, our guy, our
Gotcha.
project guy, today was his first day back from vacation.
Do we have to do any sort of RFP for that, or does that only come after, once we go to bid to award the project? We don't have to do an RFP for engineering?
No, because they're on the MRSC
Oh, right, that's
Small
right,
Works
yeah,
roster.
That's right, and their cost is well below the threshold.
Yes.
That was it?
You ready?
Randy?
I'll come.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, just that we'll have a special meeting on July 10th for the Oyster
That
House.
takes care of item B under new business.
Yeah, so we're still gonna meet July 2nd then for our
Yes.
meeting
Yeah,
date?
that works for
Okay.
me.
Yes.
Alrighty, and then July 10th. And also, that will be an Oyster House
Right.
workshop.
Right, and that takes care of item C under new business as well.
Okay,
And I'll let them know tomorrow.
okay. Okay, and back to truck purchase.
Yeah, we're back to A. We got 2 bids, one from Advantage Nissan and one from Heartland Toyota. They're within about $30 of each other. They are both well below the state contract amount. So you basically need to figure out which one you want to buy.
Well, I'm still curious. I'd like to nail down how we pay for it. I mean, like, you talked about the IDD fund, but I'm still not comfortable that we can use that for this. We maybe could, but you guys can,
I responded to your email, and after what you said, I don't think it's a smart move to use the IDD fund, so we
Well-
gotta find another way.
Well, something I had thought about was, I believe, using the IDD fund, that the water system could buy the truck. But,
did you send
I think it's
new
a
ones?
stretch.
Can't find the new one.
well, if you're not comfortable doing it, you're not, and that's fine. And what I would suggest we do then is just look at the financing options.
I don't see the Toyota in here, I see the,
We got
There's
one
the
proposal
Nissan.
from Advantage Nissan. The Heartland Toyota was supposed to have one to us today. I expect that they'll be very, very similar. And what he told me was 4% interest would be what it is. I got one from the bank, but she had the amount wrong, but it was 4% interest as well.
Okay.
So, and then just how long do you want to spread it out?
What's typical, 3 or 5 years?
What's typical is whatever fits your budget. You can
With
do them
autos,
as long
usually
as
not,
7
but-
years, but I wouldn't recommend that.
No, they're
Would
usually.
like-
I'm not comfortable at 5, actually.
I would like to
think.
pay cash for it if we could, but I know that we can't, so if we could do
Well, we
2
could,
2 or 3 years.
but it might impact us later in the year.
Right, yeah.
You know, we could do it right now, but we might end up borrowing money from the IDD fund to get us through November if we did that.
Which-
Check in the financing better. I think that might be a wiser
Okay.
choice.
All right.
Maybe like 2, 3 years at the most.
Well, I was
3.
thinking 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have us in the $400 to $500 a month range.
Yeah.
And I think we can
And
handle
if
that.
we have $6,000 additional coming out of our budget, where do you see that coming from? I know we were gonna put some reserves in there, but
Well, we had almost $80,000 that we carried over from last year. So, you know, that money's there. You know, we've got that money in the bank.
Okay.
I don't see a proposal for a Toyota.
Yeah, it's in there.
Is it?
Yeah, Heartland Toyota proposal. Right underneath the Advantage Nissan proposal.
Okay. Oh, I did find the Advantage Nissan. I didn't look underneath it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the local ranch.
Yeah, the one from local ranch, that's the reason we don't want to
I've only
fix the
got
truck.
one. What am I looking at?
Yeah, I only got that one too.
So
I mean,
this
on
is
that
Advantage
last email,
Nissan.
But the other,
I can-
meeting documents
I
is,
could forward it
So are
to
they
you
in the
right
meeting documents?
Yeah, it
or
should be.
Not the last email?
now. No, it should be in the meeting documents.
it's this one. And it's in the meeting documents. And I think it's that one. Try that one.
Oh, there it is. Could we put a large amount down?
Yeah, we can put some down.
This is not four-wheel drive.
Yeah, they're both four-wheel drive.
They are.
Do we need four-wheel drive?
Yeah, Ted told me that he's leaning towards the Toyota, that if he had to vote on it, he would pick the Toyota.
And I know Dawn uses the truck to pull large logs off the launch and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so four-wheel drive.
I would say four-wheel.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
The one day a year it snows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the logs, you know.
This will be the last truck we ever have to buy.
We won't have
We.
to buy one for a long
Not,
time.
not the port, we.
And Toyota said they give us $1,000 on a trade-in if we want to trade that one in. I believe we could sell it for somewhere between $2,000 and
Yeah,
$2,500.
that's up to you. I'm sure that could probably,
Don's got it cleaned up nice.
that looks good.
Hasn't looked that good since we bought it.
I would be in favor of the Toyota. I know that Judy wants some more financing. So do we have to wait to make a decision until?
Well, here's how we could do this. You know, my spending authority is only $5,000. If you all will make a motion to allow me to go ahead and negotiate and complete this deal for just this one time, then, you know, that'll work.
So are you comfortable with that?
You know, it's kind of like why we couldn't buy that property that was up for auction that we wanted to look at.
Right.
because I didn't have the spending authority to submit a bid.
Well, I'm all about new versus used for this type of purpose. You never know what you're getting with a used, you never
That's
know.
it. Be
You know,
buying a pig.
I know government employees and I know how people treat equipment that's not theirs, so. Commissioner, yeah.
I hate to jump in, but I've got something I can help you with that. I'm not sure you need a truck or what, that's your decision on that, but, you can't use the funds because it has to be for facilities and stuff, EID, but you can borrow, pay back 1% or 1.5%, this way you're actually building your IDD fund.
And that's what we've done in the past, that's what I thought we could do for this, but we got an opinion from Joe Brogan that said otherwise.
If you have a policy, you're allowed to loan yourself money out of it as long as it's paid back.
That's what I wanted to do. I mean, that was what
Well,
the
we
plan
have a
was.
policy.
Well, maybe we just relook at the IDD policy and a
'Cause
phone
I
call to
wasn't
Joe.
sure. Yeah,
We've done it in the past, but
but it wasn't for auto, it
it was
was for other.
it was paid to pay bills, I
The loan
think.
is not for the auto,
Yep.
it's to the port.
Yeah,
It's not for the auto.
it's for the
Yeah,
operation.
It could be port operation,
Yeah.
and then we just take
Well-
money out of the general fund and,
And you'll save interest and you'll pay back the IDD
Yeah.
fund more than you're
Right.
paying in growing the IDD
Responsible
fund,
use
as
of
we did with
taxpayer
the water.
money.
Yes.
Right,
That,
Okay.
and
well,
are still doing.
yeah.
that
Well,
is the
I'm still
preferred
for that
method.
then, yeah.
That is the preferred.
Well, I
method.
agree.
Then I will
mean,
go
I'm-
ahead and do this if it's,
Okay,
yeah,
And then I would make a motion that we give the
authority.
director the authority for a one-time purchase above his $5,000 spending limit to negotiate for the purchase of a new Toyota truck.
I will second that. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Thanks,
So
Commissioner.
moved.
okay.
Thank you.
Well, you should also, when the time comes though, actually pass the resolution borrowing the money. Just,
Okay.
Oh, yeah, thank
just
you.
a little bit of,
There is
Yeah.
a resolution on the old one, so yeah.
to protect yourself, just make sure that the auditor doesn't come back.
Maybe we could do that at the July 10th
Yeah,
meeting,
you
or
know
the
the amount of money that.
meeting June 25th?
Uh-huh.
The June 25th
June-
meeting.
Wait, no.
No, we're not.
July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Are we meeting June 25th?
No.
We
No.
didn't
Okay.
set that
July
up.
10th.
Okay.
June
Or I
2nd,
could
okay.
write a resolution right now if you want it and send it to you.
Let's do it at our next meeting.
Yeah, when Ted gets to see
Okay.
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Great.
July 2nd. Okay, great. Okay, what else is on the agenda? I think that's it, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Now we're to public comment. Hi, public. I'm glad you made it.
That was my comment.
Okay.
So the idea was that you can stretch it over 5 years, they look for 3 years, for any type of interfund loan.
Mhm.
But, you can do 5 years if you do, from what I understand, just have to justify it after 3 years.
Okay.
Why you're doing it, but it's definitely a better way to go, so you're paying your own self.
Yeah.
Your own interest.
I
and stuff,
agree.
If you're gonna do it, you know.
Well, if it's legal, that's all I care about, because I think that is more wise, pay ourselves rather than somebody else. Because we need that, so.
And that's what we did years ago.
Yep,
We've
I
done it-
remember.
We've done it also at the county, we've done it at the Basic Transit Authority for the buildings and stuff like that. The same matter, the state auditor was okay with it,
Great.
as long as you have a policy. If you don't have a policy, you can't do it.
And, yeah, and we do have a policy. We have borrowed from it in the past, and we have paid ourselves back with interest. Do you know, the Mason Transit, that went to bid, have they closed the bid on that yet? Is it still open?
It's not really out to bid yet.
Oh, it's not out to
They're
bid.
still deciding the size and whether there'll be any other entities that teams up with it on top.
Okay, I knew that they were, I thought they were close to
The property
going to bid.
Property's already purchased,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards.
Signs up.
Yep, infrastructure's coming in, water is on its way out there. That was one of the reasons that why it's beneficial to buy it the way it did, because if we were to purchase it and then, bring water to it, it would have cost approximately $750,000 to $1 million in water.
Wow, who's putting the water in?
The owner, the
Okay.
property.
Great. Wonderful.
Anything else in the north end? Anything?
There's a lot of things happening, but, I don't know what all I can
Yeah.
say.
Share.
Yeah, it's very exciting. There's a lot of good things that are going on.
And thank you for your work, Randy.
Yes.
Really appreciate what you're doing for us. It's awesome. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
I had a phone call from Carrie Bozeman over the weekend
Mhm.
about the meeting that we went to and Randy went to.
I forgot to
And-
say thank you, but
Oh, yeah, thanks
And-
for coming. That was
And,
awesome.
well, they're putting that committee together and he's asked me to serve on it.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. I did like the comment, I don't remember who made it, that Kitsap needs to build a park and ride right there on Highway 3 to relieve some of the congestion.
what we can do is we've reached out to Marty once before, we can reach out to them again. They don't want to bring people this way, but they could use the park and ride to establish it. because there's
Right.
Facilities, everything there for the turnaround. So if we get them close enough to where they're looking at the port, they're already going to the port, but it's not doing much.
Mhm.
We can bring them all the way and then we can actually have local connections.
Yeah,
That'd be huge.
That'd be great.
they have a couple big employers out there.
We have several minibuses that go into the shipyard.
Yep,
Basically,
Yep.
already. But there's, so many more. It'd be nice just to be able to go back and forth. As it stands now, they don't want to do anything on weekends, so we need to figure out a way to do something on weekends.
yeah.
Yeah, true.
But thank you, Larry, for getting me into that meeting. I think that that's very important meeting to have been to, and to have been invited to. And eventually, we will capitalize off of that relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I just really strongly believe that we are going to be impacted by Kitsap's growth. And Kitsap is impacted by Seattle's growth, and we're getting the spillover. And that we need to be part of the solution that they put together for it. They're thinking about themselves, but we need to be in there and have a voice where, hey, we're part of this too.
Yeah,
So,
Can't know how much is complete new builds or whatever at this point, but just residential permits, we're up 17%.
for
Wow,
Mason County.
Just in
Yeah.
1 year, 17%.
I mean,
wonderful.
I see it just, in my, driving around in my regular job, I see houses going up everywhere. Lots of remodels on the shores and not a lot for sale though. I mean, there's not a big inventory.
Well, as you knew, we at one point had almost a year and a half's worth of inventory. Now we're down to less than 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They did a report at Kitsap at the home builders meeting. They have, one person from one of the title companies, and he does a report about what's on the market, how long on the market, average time sold, closings and whatnot. And Kitsap right now has less than 300 properties on the market.
jeez.
wow.
And those are all ones that were either in really bad shape or extremely high price.
Yeah, high price,
Yeah.
You
yeah.
have to wait till the appraisals can come up because it's an odd thing. You can sell these properties this much above appraisal, but you can't sell it this much above until somebody buys it or buys cash.
Till the appraisals go up,
It
yeah.
has to close and it's a slow
Right.
process. So people are bringing cash in
Yeah.
their deals.
I'm getting unsolicited requests to buy my houses in Kitsap. Just letters saying, we want to buy your house.
Probably sell it in 5 days, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to sell my house, but
My best friend is a realtor there, and he's telling me if you want to sell your house, this is the time.
yeah, I was told that too. And never's a hard word in real estate, but
But you still gotta buy one.
That's true.
That's the
well, yeah,
that's the only
unless they're
issue.
rentals, then you got to pay capital gains.
Yeah, that's the major issue.
Okay, anything else?
I have nothing.
Okay, meeting adjourned? All right, thank you, Randy.